Continuing in the Sid Meier series I'm doing, I'm going to review the core of this, which is Civilization, one of my favorite all-time games, and also the game which made Sid Meier famous. So he developed Civilization in 1991. There's the box, and there's a screenshot. Unfortunately, very small resolution. The Mac version was a much more modern look than this, but this was the Amiga version, and the DOS version looked very similar. And he based it on the board game Civilization from 1980, which could take as long as 12 hours to play, although that was developed by Francis Tresham, not by him. On SimCity, which was released in 1989, with Will Wright being the primary developer. And on his own Railroad Tycoon, which I've previously played through. And Civilization had all sorts of interesting and innovative features. One of them was that it was considered by some to be the first 4X style strategy game. Given how developed gaming was at the time, though, this may be a bit of an exaggeration. 4X stands for Explore, Expand, Exploit, and Exterminate. And it was originally used for Master of Orion from 1993, which it's hard not to see a connection between Master of Orion and Escape Velocity. Actually, it was just another one of my favorite games. I have not mentioned Master of Orion in my playthroughs of Escape Velocity and its different spin-offs, because I never played Master of Orion very much in the old days. But you can see the similarities obvious. Building fleets and taking different hyperspace links to neighboring planets and so on, and assessing the resources of each. It's a lot like Escape Velocity, and a lot like Civilization, I suppose. But Civilization is very much based on Earth until the very end of the game. So I don't know why they keep giving me a picture of Gandhi there. Gandhi is actually one of the characters you can play in Civilization as the leader of India. But that's a source of endless humor, because he doesn't really behave the way the real-life Gandhi did. And none of these leaders have any particular loyalty to any particular ideology in the game. Their AIs are all more or less standard. But the gameplay essentially involves you either taking over the world, building a spacecraft to go to Alpha Centauri before anybody else, and if there is a competition between you and the other civilization for the quality of spacecraft, like say if you both arrive at the same turn, because it is a turn-based strategy game, whoever put more settlers on their spacecraft is the winner, because they get a larger score, among other things. You also can get a higher score from being at peace. You can get a higher score from having less pollution. And there are many other metrics, like life expectancy and so on. And to some extent, this is more sophisticated than some of the later Civilization games, actually. The demographic screen is very interesting, and I'll show that later when I play the game. But there are different dimensions of it which are rather liberal when you consider the stereotypes of evangelical Christianity, which Sid Meier subscribes to. There are a few little clues, like the game starts in 4000 BC, instead of 7000 or 10,000. And religion does play a role, although religion also plays a role in all the other Civilization games. Even the ones developed after Sid Meier was no longer directly developing his own game. And actually, the inclusion of religion expanded over the years. Basically, in the original Civilization, you only have ceremonial burial, mysticism, religion and theology, and that's it. And it was the only technological advances involved with religion. But actually, this is worth looking at if I find it here. Before he developed the game, Sid Meier developed the technology tree for it, where one technology leads to another and leads to another, and you need to have the best strategy to have the technologies you need for the strategy you want to take with the game, because it is an open-ended game. This technology tree here is actually from FreeCiv, not from the original Civilization, but it's designed more or less in the same way. And it was always one of my favorite aspects of the game, because I've always been a big fan of the history of technology. So this was one of the best history of technology games, I thought, because tech matters a lot in Civilization. It's almost what determines success or failure. The two most important things are probably technology and the amount of land area you have. Just because the more land area you have, the larger your population, the more science you can produce, and the more soldiers you can produce, and so on. It's a little bit easier than real life in the sense that size will virtually win you the game. Size alone, just because you have so much more in the way of resources. And there aren't the complications like what kinds of farm animals and plants you can have. I mentioned Jared Diamond in my earlier videos about his emphasis as a historian on these topics and how they give certain civilizations unfair advantages, which are not present in the game Civilization, actually. There's an argument that reading him helps you in a lot of other respects, though. So I might as well do the playthrough to show you what I'm talking about.